When the plan meets reality, what's this week's headlines teach us about preparedness? This week, several headlines caught my attention, not because they were disasters, because together they demonstrated what preparedness actually means. In Suisun City, a cyber attack affected its IT network, including 911, routing, police and fire dispatch, records, and city services. The city had to shut down its network. The critical services continued using alternate processes. At Uber Freight, a cybersecurity incident affected portions of its systems that the company reported the freight operations continued normally. And earlier this year, Hasbro faced a much more disruptive cyber attack. Its SAP system went offline and employees shifted to manual processes when the company prioritized critical operations. Those workarounds helped to continue an important product launch. 3 cyber incidents, 3 different organizations, but the lesson really isn't about cyber security. Oh no, it's about continuity. Look at what happened in Big Sur this week. The timber fire forced evacuations and restricted access along Highway 1. Businesses closed even though the fire had not destroyed their buildings. Now, this is important because sometimes your building survives and your business still stops. Employees can't get there. Customers can't get there. Deliveries can't get through. Utilities become uncertain. And what happens? Revenue disappears. And then there was British Columbia. Wildfire conditions forced evacuations, disrupt power in Summerland, and contributed to a boil water notice after the water treatment system was affected. One emergency began producing multiple problems: fire, water, power, transportation, people, communications. And that's what real disruption looks like. It rarely arrives neatly packaged in the scenario described on page 27 of your emergency plan. Oh no. And that brings us to the phrase that I frequently use. Preparedness is leadership. It's knowing what matters when the plan stops matching the reality. It means knowing which operations absolutely must continue. It means understanding when people, technologies, utility, suppliers, and transportation routes whose operations you depend on. It means giving people enough training to authorize them to make the decision when leadership is not standing right next to them. And it means having another way to accomplish the mission when the normal way disappears. That's why I'm increasingly asking leaders a different question. And the question is not, do you have an emergency plan? The question is, could your organization continue operating if tomorrow doesn't look anything like the scenario that you have planned for? Because this week's headlines demonstrate something very important. Suisun City needed alternate systems. Uber Freight needed containment without operational interruption. Hasbro needed manual processes. Big Sur businesses needed access, and British Columbia communities needed multiple systems simultaneously. Well, these are all different emergencies, but they all have the same underlying need: operational foresight. That's where leadership enters the equation. A binder cannot look at changing conditions and make a judgment. Software cannot reassure an employee who doesn't know what to do. A policy cannot decide when staying open creates more risk than closing. And a checklist cannot improvise when the backup plan fails. People do those things. Prepared people, trained people, people who understand the mission and have authority to act. And that is why preparedness is leadership. Before we finish, I want you to have 5 questions. I want you to take these 5 questions back to your organization this week. Number 1, what absolutely must continue? Number 2, what does it actually depend on? Number 3, what happens when that dependency disappears? And 4, who has the authority to make the next decision? And the most important question that you need to ask yourself is, have we ever actually practiced it? Yes, that is very important. If you can't confidently answer those questions, you don't need to wait for the next headline to answer them for you. Again, this is Daniel Kilburn with Emergency Action Planning. Every week, I will take you behind the headlines to identify the leadership and business continuity lessons organizations can use before disruption happens. Because the objective isn't predicting the next emergency. It's building an organization capable of continuing when unexpectedness happens. Subscribe and join me each week as we look beyond the headlines and identify what today's disruption can teach us about tomorrow's preparedness. And remember, preparedness is leadership. This is Daniel. Until next time, please stay informed, stay safe.